Okay, I am here with is it Moria or Mora?
Mora.
Moira Noonan, who is the author of Ransomed from Darkness and Spiritual Deceptions, a comprehensive guide to discernment, which we have a copy of that right here. Let me hold that up so people can see it. And you're doing a retreat this weekend, and by the time most of you see this, this will be after this weekend. You're doing a retreat locally in Medway, and it's about intergenerational healing. Tell me about intergenerational healing.
Well, basically, there's blessings that we can impart on our loved ones, our children, our grandchildren. But some of us, because of sin, we might not be imparting blessings. Because of sin and addiction and other things, we might be imparting other things. And one of the ways to help with this spiritually is to stop it. And how do we stop it? Because sometimes we're at a loss. How do you stop this? How do we stop things that happen? Like, for example, in my own life, my father was alcoholic. Now, as a child, I never understood why. I couldn't understand it. But then I would find out later in life that my grandfather had committed suicide. So what did my father do? And he did not commit suicide, thank goodness. Instead, he would drink himself into oblivion. And so it was a slower death. And why would these things happen? So then maybe the next generation, such as for myself or my daughter, might be depression. So these things come down until they're stopped, until we actually get some help, some spiritual help, and turn whatever it could have been, really the curse of addiction, the curse of a spirit of whatever the spirit might have been that would cause in the family, to turn it into a blessing. Well, how do you do that? We are willing to stand in the gap for our families. We're willing to stand in the gap for our bloodline and say, enough of this. We don't want it to keep coming and affecting us in different ways. Now, some things are from the culture for sure. The culture affects people. Some things are from the environment. But an awful lot is brought to us from our own family lines and from sin.
Now, how did you first get involved in all of this? You said that you had a background in media.
Mm-hmm.
When did you find this as a calling?
Oh, well, quite honestly, I had a conversion. So that would be the beginning of my calling, was conversion. Because while I was in media, which of course most secular media in America is involved in New Age movement. So, for example, 4 out of 5 primetime TV shows have occult themes. The theme is the fascination with the supernatural. What's supernatural? Supernatural of what? God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit? No, the supernatural of fallen angels that pose with all kinds of counterfeit gifts and the display of those gifts in many different shows. So they would be, even the television shows on these things, many different kinds of shows, but Chris Angel and Supernatural and Ghost Whisperer, these kind of things. Different shows, different movies. A lot of movies have the themes of reincarnation. They have the themes of New Age thinking and teaching. So the more I was in secular media, the more I was involved with New Age, of course, and into psychic information, psychic practices, and I got very adept at psychic phenomena.
And when did your conversion strike you? When did it hit you?
Well, it hit me actually when I was taking a workshop by the Robbins Research people, which would be Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins, and I was getting trained. I was already a hypnotherapist. I was already certified, and I was getting trained in advanced hypnotherapy program.
And how long ago was this, if I may ask?
This was in the 90s.
All right.
Okay. So I was getting trained because New Agers believe in reincarnation, I was getting trained to do past life regression therapy. And while I was getting trained for this, I was actually in the lobby of my training, and I was reading a magazine. The magazine was called New Age Journal. Thank goodness it doesn't exist anymore. Other New Age magazines exist, but this one does not. I was reading about this woman who had different experiences of supernatural experience, and she was talking about our Blessed Mother as though she was a goddess. Okay? And New Agers do. They tend to call Our Lady a goddess. They say, the goddess from heaven is coming down to meet the goddess from earth. Earth goddess, they call her Gaia. And you hear a lot about that during Earth Day every year, the big Earth Day events, and through the environmental platform on environmentalism, with that they've made a political platform on, the goddess movement. So she was talking about that, and she had written books about it. They were in Barnes & Noble, actually, and the whole goddess spirituality movement. Something struck me very strange during this article that I'm reading, and somewhere in the back of my mind, from childhood.
I take it you were raised Catholic as a child.
That's right. I was Catholic as a small child, but as I was preparing for my first communion in second grade, I remember the Sacred Heart's nun saying that Blessed Mother is real, very real, and she was my mother too, our mother, your mother, and I took that personally. And I remember while I'm reading this article about how they're calling her a goddess, that she's the heaven goddess, and I thought, this is not correct. This is wrong. And then I thought, well, if this is a lie, and this is written by one of the top therapists in the New Age movement, well then what else is a lie that I'm learning? Is this workshop a lie? Is this certification in past life regression therapy a lie? That would take many years to get rid of the reincarnation heresy. It's one of the worst heresies to get out of your mind if you've been brainwashed with reincarnation belief. It's very difficult to get rid of that one.
So from that seed, and this, I find that fascinating because I often say one of the most important things is an early Catholic education, because even if you drift away, it stays with you. The blessings that come from it stay with you. And how long have you been away from the church? Were you a nominal Catholic who still went to mass, or were you like you never didn't go to mass at all, or how long what was the situation then?
Well, what happened is that we went to church on Sundays, but we were cultural Catholic, okay? So there wasn't any Bible or catechism or teachings anywhere. It was just you go to church on Sunday. And we didn't have, I would say that we didn't have Christian value system in our family. It was pretty dysfunctional. There wasn't any idea of Christian value system at all, or morals, any of that. But by 15, there was no more church. After confirmation, I was no longer at church. Not even mass.
So
Christmas, maybe.
Age 15, Christmas and Easter once in a while?
Christmas, Easter. I think that would be it.
And then in your adulthood, you got into media. Did you major in that in college?
Yes, I had a degree in media in college.
All right, it's so funny because, of course, I have no degrees anywhere near that. And you were in the media industry for a while. Were you successful in media?
Yes, my first job out of college. Very first job was with a movie producer, Francis Ford Coppola, fallen away Catholic. I mean, once you fall away from the church, it's amazing how you're surrounded. You end up getting surrounded by fallen away Catholics, whether it's in work or your friends, or you might meet a boyfriend or something. It seems like everybody's fallen away. Once you fall away, it just like once you're a faith-filled Catholic, all of a sudden you find faith-filled Catholic friends. It's amazing how life works that way.
People tend to recognize their own to some degrees.
So here I was in a fallen away, with a great job, fallen away movie producer. I think his wife went to church, but there wasn't any Catholic presence in the company. And then, they're making the Godfather movies. But, I was hired during that.
Well, I'm Sicilian, so I think that there's some of the best movies ever made. But that's
okay.
I digress.
No, yeah, well, Mario Puzo lived in San Francisco, wrote the books right there, off of Marina. And we're all friends. Francis lived nearby. I mean, they were all, I was around a lot of Italians.
Oh.
I think I was the only token blonde. I actually was the only token California kid, because I remember my immediate boss in the company was Jewish, and Francis was walking down the hallway, and I remember him saying, "Francis, should we hire her? She's fresh out of college. She has a degree in media." He says, yeah, hire her. We need a token blonde. So that's how I got the job. I was the California token blonde. Everybody else in there was, right out of the movies. They all were Italian from Brooklyn or Bronx or wherever.
Oh, I would have fit right in,
They were-
except for the devout Catholicism. Of course.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have fit in there that part. So it was a fun office. We had a great time, and unfortunately, I didn't develop any faith throughout the whole thing. I probably lost more. I probably didn't even go Christmas and Easter during those years.
And so you got involved in this. You're in media, so this was a long time, and you had a family and so forth during that time.
No, not during that time. No,
But
not till later.
not till later. All right.
Yeah.
So
I was just fresh out of college. This is my 20s.
so this is your 20s,
Yeah.
and you got deep into this. Were you making a decent living?
Of course.
So you were doing all right,
Yeah.
and you're getting involved in this. You're doing this new age thing, and all of a sudden, the voice of the nun from your youth hits you, and you started on the path to question. And how did you end up finishing the course you were at, or did you leave it, or?
No, I went back. First of all, I left the conference center, and I took a walk down. It was near the ocean. I took a walk down. Well, it looks like near the bayfront. I took a walk down the bayfront.
This is San Francisco?
No, this was actually I was living in California, but the course itself was offered in Hawaii.
All right.
So I was in Hawaii, and I took a walk, away from the center that we were having our hotel conference center, and I took a walk, and I said a very heartfelt, simple prayer. I said, I didn't have any other name for her. I just said, Mother Mary. Mother Mary, and even New Agers call her Mother Mary. So, the only title I had was Mother Mary, and I said, Mother Mary, I believe you're not a goddess. I know you're real. I remember those nuns from second grade telling me that you were real. You lived in Israel. You were Jewish. You had a baby. His name is Jesus. That's about all I could remember. Oh, that she was young. And then I said, I am walking barefoot on this sand right now at this bayfront. And I said, you must have walked barefoot on the earth too. At some point you were walking barefoot on this earth too. And I believe you're in heaven. And if you really are coming from heaven in any way, shape, or form to reach us, humans here on earth, I would really like to meet you. That was my heartfelt prayer. That was the beginning.
And from there, and you mentioned, and this is a very important point that I think should be emphasized. Mm-hmm. You didn't get a bolt from the blue, and you didn't leave immediately. This took time for all of these things to develop, for you to look at them and to make your decisions.
It would take the next 3 years. I felt like, Dorothy on the Yellow Brick Road, a little bit of sign here, a little bit of Massachusetts inspiration there. I mean, it wasn't a thunderbolt, no. It was clearly that little window in a very brainwashed mind. The window of light, that Our Lady was not a goddess. That was the light through a mind that was full of brainwashing from all the New Age teachings and the secular society. I mean, I didn't have any Christian value system in my head.
And that's an important, and I'm emphasizing this point so much because people who might watch this interview, and I think I'm going to do this in parts because this part is very important, and I want to emphasize this message from that part, is that if you are going in the wrong direction, it takes time. And it's like if you're like turning a battleship or aircraft carrier takes a half mile. Mm-hmm. People who find themselves deep into this should not be discouraged if things don't instantly change. It takes the time and perseverance.
They do. That's why my book Ransom from Darkness has 7 conversion stories in it, and all of us came out of a New Age world, actually. And one person, though, did not. He used to play golf. He was just following an Episcopalian who decided, who spent his life playing golf on Sundays, not church. But God I still felt the inspiration to evangelize him and get him into RCA. So it was through God's grace, quite honestly.
And so it was 3 years to get out of New Age, and from out of New Age, when did you find yourself back at Mass?
Well, basically, I actually started going to church within about 6 months of that experience. And I wanted to find Our Lady. So I went to the church to find statues of her, to talk to her. I wasn't looking for Jesus. I wasn't looking for the Catholic Church. I was looking for Blessed Mother. I wanted to be with Mother Mary. I really wasn't looking for the church. I didn't realize that she will always lead you to Jesus. If you get the real Mary, the true Mary, not the New Age Mary, but the real Mary, she'll lead you to Jesus, and she'll lead you to the church and the sacraments.
So Mary led you to Jesus.
Of course.
Which is what Mary tends to do.
To Jesus through Mary. That's what Mother Teresa says.
That's right.
And that's what
St. Louis de Montfort.
St. Louis de Montfort. That's why I'm wearing the miraculous medal, and I say the consecration prayer to Our Lady Immaculata, St. Louis Marie de Montfort and he is clearly one of the first that really promoted the miraculous medal everywhere. And Mother Teresa gave miraculous medals to everybody. I always say it's really a great evangelization tool, because everybody really wants to meet Mary. I haven't met anybody that doesn't want to meet Mary. And even if they're confused that they think she's a goddess or whatever, you can talk to them about the real Mary. You can.
Because you gotta open the door before they can walk through.
Right, and give them my book, because my book with Mary on the cover, Ransom from Darkness. Here's the cover right there.
Let's grab that. Put that up here from her.
Ransom from Darkness. I've had so many hundreds of letters over the last 15 years. How many people have had conversions from reading that book? Tremendous. It's now in 6 languages in 8 countries, because it's been such a great source of conversion.
That is really something. And we're going to stop here for part 1, but in part 2 I'm going to ask you more about what you do and a little bit about how people reacted to your conversion. Mm-hmm. But this is part 1 of our interview with Moira Noonan, author of Ransom from Darkness and Spiritual Deceptions, a comprehensive guide to discernment. She's going to be speaking at a retreat in Medway, Massachusetts, and I'm sure she can be booked for a retreat in your area too. This is Pete the Tech Guy. We will be right back.